Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are focusing a jeweler's loop on one of the most exciting high-growth markets right now, launching an online jewelry business, specifically in India.
Yeah, it's quite the transformation happening there. The sources we looked at show online jeweler stores growing by something like 25% annually.
25%, wow.
Yeah, and we're not talking small figures here. Online sales are projected to hit, I think it was, USD 1.5 billion by 2025. It's massive.
And what's really interesting, I think, is how accessible this makes starting a business.
Mhm.
Our sources really frame this as, an ideal home-based opportunity. Because the startup costs can be pretty low, and mobile access in India is just incredibly high. It feels like the right market, right time.
That's exactly what we want to unpack today. Sort of the strategic roadmap, right? Everything from the necessary legal foundations to the really cool personalization tactics.
The goal is to give you the full picture, the actionable stuff, but without getting completely bogged down in details.
Exactly. So you walk away knowing what you actually need to do.
Okay, so let's start with the sheer scale here. The total market size, it's just huge.
Oh, it's staggering. India's total jewelry market revenue, the estimate is US $93.03 billion by 2025.
93 billion. That's a gigantic and pretty resilient market.
Absolutely. But for someone just starting out, success isn't just about, grabbing a tiny slice of that huge number. There's more to it.
So what did the sources say really makes a brand successful, beyond just sales figures?
Well, they kind of distilled it down into 5 core components. These are the things that seem to separate the businesses that last from the ones that, disappear quickly.
Okay, 5 components. Let's hear them.
First up, unique design identity. This is key. If your designs are original, you're not just competing on price, you can command higher margins, you actually stand out.
Right, you need something distinctive. Makes sense. What's number 2?
Number 2, and this is critical, especially for online where people can't touch the product first, is material excellence.
Ah, the quality aspect.
Exactly. It builds that customer confidence, protects your reputation. Super important.
Okay, wait, I want to pause on that reputation point.
Yeah.
Out of these 5 pillars, which one do new online businesses most often stumble on? Is it really the design or maybe the operational side?
That's a good question. Often, it's actually the operational side that trips people up, which leads to the third component, lean operations.
Lean operations.
Yeah.
So like keeping costs down.
Precisely. Using a home studio initially, for instance, saving significantly on rent during that startup phase is, well, it's crucial.
Yeah, overinvesting in a fancy physical space too early seems like a classic mistake.
It's a major financial risk. You want to keep costs low while you're testing the market, finding your feet.
Makes total sense. Okay, so that's 3. What else?
Fourth component is having a strong digital growth path. Using digital channels for low-cost experiments, figuring out what works, and then scaling.
So being smart about online marketing and sales from day one.
Yep. And finally, the 5th pillar is tapping into the inherent market stability, cultural demand.
Ah, the weddings, the festivals.
Exactly. That tradition of gift-giving, it creates these reliable year-round purchase patterns, something international markets often don't have in quite the same way.
Okay, so it sounds like trust and reputation are woven through all of this. How does someone build that foundational trust before they even sketch their first earring? That brings us to the legal stuff, right?
Absolutely right. That's the kind of invisible scaffolding. It has to be solid. Step 1 is simply business registration.
Which form works best?
Well, a proprietorship is usually the simplest if you're going solo. A partnership might make sense if you're pooling investment with someone.
But the sources also mentioned setting up as a private limited company. That sounds like a lot more paperwork, doesn't it? When would that actually be worth the hassle for a startup?
Good point. That structure is really for people who anticipate needing external funding down the line or maybe plan to scale really rapidly and want that defined corporate structure from the get-go.
So for most people starting small, simplicity is probably better.
Usually, yes. But regardless of the structure, you absolutely need the necessary tax identification.
And then comes the compliance checklist. This is where the Indian market rules get quite specific.
Yeah, 2 things really stand out here. First, GST registration.
Is that always required?
It's mandatory if your annual turnover crosses 20 lakhs, but honestly, the consensus seems to be just register anyway.
Why is that?
Well, it's essential for claiming input tax credit, which saves you money. And again, it just signals professionalism to your customers, builds trust.
Okay, GST. Got it. What's the second big one?
The big one for jewelry, Hallmarking Compliance. If you're selling gold, you cannot skip this.
Right, the BIS certification.
Exactly. The Bureau of Indian Standards mandates hallmarking for a whole range of gold purity levels. We're talking 24K, 23K, the common ones like 22K, 18K, 14K, even down to 9K.
So pretty much all standard gold jewelry.
Basically, yes. Minimum fineness is 375 parts per thousand, which is 9K. Adhering to this is non-negotiable. It's about legality and, again, customer faith.
That level of regulation is definitely a major factor to plan for.
What about where you get your materials if you're sourcing internationally?
Good question. If you're importing, say, rough stones or specific components from overseas, you'll need the right import licenses.
Okay. Anything else on the compliance front?
Don't forget insurance coverage, specifically product liability insurance in case of defects, and also business disruption coverage.
Business disruption, like for unexpected shutdowns.
Yeah, for financial losses from things you can't control. Honestly, having the right insurance can be the difference between a minor hiccup and having to close shop entirely.
Right. That's the boring but essential stuff covered. Now, the fun part. Figuring out what to actually sell. Niche identification and product design. You can't be everything to everyone, right?
Absolutely not. Niche selection is probably the single most important strategic decision you make early on.
Yeah.
Our market's huge, so you have to carve out your specific space.
So what niches did the sources highlight as having good potential in India right now? There were several interesting areas with high growth potential. You've got the classic high demand category, traditional ethnic jewelry.
Like temple jewelry.
Kundan, exactly.
Okay.
Temple designs, intricate kundan work, manakari. These beautiful, complex, traditional Indian techniques, they're strongly tied to festivals, weddings, big cultural moments.
Okay, so that's one strong lane. What else?
Then there's the opposite end, almost. Contemporary fashion jewelry. Think minimalist, geometric shapes, maybe bolder statement pieces. This appeals more to, say, urban professionals.
And weddings are huge, so I assume bridal is a category.
Oh, definitely. High-end bridal collections, these obviously command much higher premium pricing. Big investment pieces.
Interesting. Any other niches standing out?
Yeah, a couple more. We saw strong signals for values-driven niches like sustainable jewelry using recycled metals, eco-friendly packaging. That's gaining traction.
People care more about that now.
They do. And also the sentiment niche is always popular. Personalized stuff, engravings, birthstones, pieces that tell a story.
Okay, so once you've picked your lane, your niche, how do you actually develop the designs? It can't just be random inspiration, can it?
No, definitely not. The sources actually map out a pretty systematic a 5-step process for design development.
5 steps. Let's walk through them.
Okay, step 1 is trend analysis. You've got to know what's happening. So using things like Pinterest boards, checking out key Instagram influencers in your niche, researching competitors, see what styles are emerging, where the gaps might be.
So market research first. Then what?
Step 2, sketch creation. And the advice here was about volume initially. Aim for maybe 20 to 30 sketch concepts. Importantly, they should share some kind of recognizable signature element, something that ties your brand together.
20 to 30 sketches.
Okay.
Okay, what's step 3?
This one's about cost control. Prototype development. Don't jump straight to precious metals. Create your first samples using cheaper materials like brass or maybe silver-plated metals.
Test the design physically before committing the big bucks.
Exactly. Because that feeds directly into step 4, feedback collection. Get those prototypes in front of actual potential customers.
How do you do that effectively?
Pilot test them on maybe 10 to 15 prospective customers. You could use social media polls, run small online focus groups, get that validation quickly.
And based on that feedback.
Step 5, refinement. Tweak the details, adjust proportions, fix any issues they pointed out. But, and this is important, do it while sticking to your core design philosophy. Don't lose your brand identity in the process.
That whole process sounds like it needs some specific tools, especially for jewelry.
It does. For creating those detailed 3D models, you'll likely need specialized CAD software. Matrix Gold was mentioned.
CAD. Computer-aided design, right?
Yep, specifically for jewelry design. For any 2D or flat design work, standard tools like Adobe Illustrator are common.
And since it's online, the photos are everything.
Absolutely critical. You need quality photography equipment. That means a decent DSLR camera, probably with a macro lens for those close-up shots, and a proper light box setup for consistent lighting. Presentation is the product online.
Okay, presentation, that leads perfectly into building the actual digital shop front and how personalization can really drive sales there. What platforms are people using successfully in India?
Well, there are pros and cons to each, right? Shopify came up a lot. It's known for being really user-friendly, lots of apps available, but you do have those monthly fees.
What about alternatives?
WooCommerce is another big one, especially if you're already comfortable with WordPress. It gives you full customization control, but you have to handle your own hosting.
And then there are the big marketplaces.
Right. You've got Etsy, which has that built-in audience looking for handmade and unique items. The downside is the transaction fees can eat into your margins.
And the giants like Amazon or Flipkart.
Huge customer base, obviously, massive reach. But the competition is incredibly intense, and their commission fees can be pretty substantial. It's a trade-off.
Makes sense. But regardless of where you sell, the sources seem really clear on one thing. Personalization is key. That's what allows for premium pricing and builds loyalty.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge differentiator, and we're talking beyond just simple monogramming these days.
So what kind of custom design services should new brands consider offering?
Things like laser engraving names, dates, special messages. Integrating birthstones is popular. Offering custom sizing is huge. Actually, it drastically reduces returns.
That's practical benefit right there.
And offering multiple metal choices is standard now. You know, yellow gold, white gold, rose gold, silver, giving people options.
Yeah, okay, those are fairly standard custom options.
Yeah.
But the sources mentioned tech-driven personalization too. That sounds more advanced.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting and can really elevate the customer experience. It's all about reducing the perceived risk for the buyer and giving them more control.
How does that work?
We're talking things like 3D visualization, using those CAD files we mentioned earlier to let customers see a preview of their customized design before they even place the order.
Okay, seeing it virtually. And what about the AR try-on features?
That's the real game changer, AR try-on. So customers can use their phone's camera to virtually wear the necklace or ring.
Seriously. Like see it on their own hand or neck through their phone.
Exactly. It typically uses something called WebAR technology, so it works right in their web browser, no app needed usually. It just removes a massive psychological barrier to buying jewelry online.
Wow, I can see how that would boost confidence.
Huge boost. Combine that with interactive design configurators tools where customers can click to change stones, swap metals, maybe adjust sizes, and see the price update in real time. Well, you've created a much more premium, engaging experience.
That kind of premium service definitely sounds like it requires investment, though. Let's talk financials. What are the realistic startup costs we're looking at?
You know, for a digital-first business, the startup costs mentioned were actually pretty manageable compared to, say, opening a physical store. The range was typically somewhere between $2,000 and $10,000.
Okay, 2 to 10 lakhs. What does that cover, typically?
That would generally cover your initial inventory or materials, maybe those specialized design tools we talked about, photography equipment, packaging, setting up the website, initial marketing, that sort of thing.
And the potential upside. What kind of profit margins are realistic in this space?
The margins can be quite healthy, actually, typically falling somewhere between 40% and 70%.
40 to 70%, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and the highest margins are usually on those custom, handmade, or limited edition pieces. Because you're selling something unique, something personalized, not just a commodity.
Right. But to actually achieve those margins, you need customers. Let's talk digital marketing. How should a new brand think about using different channels?
The key is understanding that different channels play different roles. They're not all the same.
Okay, break it down for us. Instagram.
Instagram is your visual portfolio, essential for high-quality professional product shots, and it's great for influencer partnerships.
Pinterest. I hear that's good for jewelry.
Pinterest is more of a long-term play. It drives traffic slowly but surely. Think styling guides, inspiration boards, seasonal collections, wedding ideas, things people search for over time.
Facebook. Still relevant.
Facebook seems more focused on community building now, running groups, maybe doing live selling sessions to interact directly with your audience.
And YouTube.
YouTube is great for showing the product in more detail, styling tutorials, maybe videos, announcing new collections, showing the craftsmanship.
So a multi-channel approach, but with specific goals for each.
Exactly. But remember, getting the sale is only half the battle. Customer retention is where sustainable growth really comes from. What happens after the sale matters a lot.
Right. Keeping customers coming back. What strategies work well there?
Robust email marketing is crucial. Welcome emails when they sign up, sending out care instruction guides for their pieces, personalized emails showcasing new collections you think they'd like.
Makes sense. Keep them engaged.
Also, running loyalty programs. Offering points for purchases or maybe giving loyal customers early access to new limited designs makes them feel special.
And service after the sale.
Absolutely vital. Excellent after-sales service. Things like offering complimentary cleaning, handling minor repairs smoothly, maybe even care consultations. It all reinforces that long-term trust and relationship.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway for someone listening who's maybe thinking about this? Launching an online jewelry brand in India, it clearly sounds like a powerful opportunity right now.
It really does. The digital growth is there, the cultural demand is deep-rooted, but success seems to hinge on, well, maybe three things.
Which are?
Consistency, first off, niching down effectively so you actually stand out, and making sure every single touch point, from the website to the packaging to the after-sales care, is truly customer-centered.
And you don't necessarily need decades of jewelry experience.
Apparently not, according to the sources, especially if you niche down smartly and leverage the right platforms like Shopify or Etsy to get started. But you absolutely need a clear strategy and, importantly, the willingness to learn and use the required technology.
Right. The market seems ready for new players, but as we discussed, it's also getting more regulated. That mandatory BIS hallmarking across all gold sales is a big shift.
It is. And that brings us to maybe the provocative thought for you to consider as you plan your own potential venture.
Go on.
How will the strict sector-wide enforcement of this mandatory hallmarking fundamentally change the competitive landscape, especially for small, new online brands over the next few years? What level of investment and operational change will be needed just to comply and compete effectively under these stricter rules?
That's a really important strategic question to mull over. Thinking about compliance not just as a hurdle, but as a potential competitive factor. Well, thank you for walking us through this blueprint for success in the Indian online jewelry market. Really fascinating stuff.
My pleasure. It's an exciting space to watch.
And thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.